Am I the only one that thought of Kindergarten Cop with that final page? As the protagonist is sleeping until 3 days has passed, it's up for the guy's best friend to handle the situation. It's great to see Hide again, and I do mean by his normal appearance. Mostly. The chapter continues to dive in the turmoil of characters and how the preparation is slowly developing before the next awakening arrives. The one character that I wanted to see the reaction was Suzuya, because after his conflict with Kaneki, there has to be a reaction towards his transformation. The chapter granted me that wish in the very beginning, with the outbreak of Kaneki's Kagane demolishing his comrade. Suzuya was helped by his close comrade Misuro. Interesting, because he has been pushed by Ishida since the novel. Either way, that was a nice save. The sight of Suzuya planning to fight off the Kagane from hanging was disturbingly creepy. The part that got me is when Suzuya announced his next confrontation will be Kaneki's last, or in other words, he will slay the dragon. It's not because he thought of killing him that struck me, it's what transpired to that thought, and remembering him as Sasaki is emotional. It does make me rethink about their previous fight, and the fact Kaneki was really set to be captured does paint him as still comrade at heart. Now he's going to recover, and this time he will finish him off. This really sucks. The discussion thread within CCG is amusing and stimulating. At first I thought it was Dr. Ogura that Hide wanted to meet as a specialist, but as predicted, it is Kanu. It's just that Ogura has a connection with him more or less. It's pretty neat that Hide has a voice device to allow him to speak. Well, there goes the idea of Elizabeth 2.0. It's a smart way of Ishida to narrow down the possibility of his look, because now we can confirm that his mid to upper region of his head is fine and well, but the lower mid to neck region interpreted to be disfigured. It's only a matter of time that we will see his full display. I was very engaged with Kanu and his backstory. Never thought I would say that. Anyway, like many, he was a good little innocent kid. That is until his mother has passed away. It is said that his mother's death is what motivated him to choose the path that we are witnessing today. Sick, scum, and the worst piece of shit. I recall him looking rather changed when he first arrived to the university in that short flashback, so he already shifted his attitude. The only part that is confusing to me is if that's the case, why not joining CCG in the first place? Did he change that drastically when he decided to use Ghoul for his benefit? A matter of fact, is the idea of using Ghoul research has to do with his mother. It is interpreted that he deeply loved his mother to the very end. So would that mean he is trying to find a way to revive her, even if it would change her to a ghoul, as already stated by Furuta, let alone what we have seen already? Is there more to it? Keep in mind, he once strongly hinted his goal with the ideology of birdcage. It is possible that his mother's death motivated him, but his goal became diverse. It does make the research rather stunning though, because you can actually see the progress report that does suggest his mother's benefit beyond the grave. Would transfer a ghoul's organ work on a human? Yes. Would transfer a different ghoul's organ, such as owl, work as well? Yes. Would Quink's research increase the success rate and somehow revive a human? Yes. Would using Noro and probably the recent outbreak research work to revive a human in separated body parts? That remains to be unanswered. But if he is heading to the graveyard, it could suggest one way or another. The long-awaited question has finally been answered. Almond and Akira made it to the scene with Hide no less. This is also interesting as well because it does drop some clues to Hide's status from before and perhaps now. I didn't expect him to be under the radar by Washu. He has been digging some dirt on everything, so it's probably why he was deemed as a threat. I wonder if that would mean V Organization got their eyes on him as well. What's also intriguing is his explanation as Scarecrow in the past. The auction raid arc is self-explanatory. finding someone to save him, who ended up being Hinami at that point. The root item confuses me because he insisted to have insurance, though still unconfirmed. Who is that insurance then? Should I be wondering on the Kennedy? The sweet tender scene is with Hide, proclaiming that he wants to save Kaneki, even after he failed to save him from transforming to dragon. Even so, he wants to make up for it, which sounds like it's going to be one emotional reunion if everything goes well. Hopefully. While Alma and Akira have a plan, it leaves Hide in question on why doing all of this. The answer is simple. He loves him. He just loves him. Now, some seems to be thinking romantic, and while it can be either way, the most important thing is that he is his best friend to the very end. And to me, that's good enough. The scene with ghouls is pretty engaging because it wasn't what I predicted in terms of reaction, yet it is believable and perhaps realistic. For starters, Itori saves Yomo. It won't excuse that bitchy personality underneath. Granted, she is hot, but still. Anyway, I'm surprised how open they are to be with clowns to Toka and others. But I guess they are being on the neutral act or something. That would still mean they can toy around with people, and what happens next is exactly why I maintain my opinion. The words Itori uses really have a lot of impacts in them because how she can look calm, but deep down she is as manipulative as she was in part 1. She tried to put more guilt towards Toka. Since Kaneki went on rampage, because of her, technically, the people got the most effect from her words because instead of being afraid of dragon, they begin to praise him as a savior, their god. While CCG is in a panic state, ghouls are feeling triumphant, and that would only paint them as ignorant and disgusting. This is close to home because I could imagine when something major happens to a third world country, instead of a Pacific territory, people in one area would heavily praise the action taking place because they feel the need for fairness. I know ghouls were getting wiped out left and right, but two wrongs don't make it right. People can easily be manipulated when they lost so much. It's a scary nature, and yet it does happen often. Thankfully, the last pages end on a literal high note with Shu shouting, "Shut up!" is basically his trademark when you think about it. I have to admit, I thought it was Toka that burst out screaming. That would be a new sight with that reaction. Joking aside, it's uplifting to see him to pull the stop on them. He is loyal to Kaneki's goal, so it is possible that he will back up his claim in mind. It also fits into his struggle from the last chapter, so think of this as his new development rather than falling into the same trap. The artwork is very solid with his character designs and expressions. It's all clean and sometimes feels impactful. It's really good to see more old characters coming back in play for one grand attempt to save Kaneki or some sort. Hide, without a smile, still awestruck me with his passionate friendship for Kaneki. Proves that artwork without the obvious can be as effective, if not more. Shu does his famous expression, though it left me feeling good to see him standing up and hopefully talk senses out of them. The calm before storm chapter is here, and it's pretty captivating. It leaves more insightful detail of the characters and more emotional display from them, especially Hide. While there are some saddening reflections, there are also welcoming, uplifting scenes to make the scenery calming and tendering. It's only a matter of time when the next strike will bring the storm at its worst. So what's the score number? Here's the thing, I decided to drop it starting with this review because I think it's fitting that I just talk about the chapter and not rely on the rating system, and I'm not really good at that, to be honest. I'm more good at explaining the detail, what's good, what's not so good. I'm not really that fond of rating numbers. Letters are harder, at least to me it is. So I prefer just to be a review that says this chapter is good, this chapter was bad, this chapter is amazing, this chapter is horrible, whatever it is. That's the way I like to go. What are your thoughts of this chapter? What do you think Shu would say to them in order for them to get their mind straight? They're pretty much backing up the idea of like ghouls equal terrorists, and yeah, that's not helping. Granted, human did a lot of damage. I'm not saying they should be considered as saints because they're in the same boat as well. But in this case, it is a tricky situation that nobody is really bad, but nobody is really good either. It's really tricky, and I can't wait to see how Shu is gonna calm them down, as well as where Hida is going with this plan of his, starting with Kanu. Hopefully everything goes well before a dragon strikes again like Godzilla in every sequels. And that will do it for the review. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you like this and want more of this, subscribe to my channel and my world will be yours to stay. Until next time, take care.